Welcome, everyone, to the Media Row podcast here on a Thursday as we have a lot to get to. A bunch of Missouri Valley Conference games last night. Also had a press conference at the Knapp Center with both Allison Pullman and Ben McCollum. Just prepping everyone for an awesome weekend of Drake basketball. They're calling it, what do they call it? Hoopy Hour instead of Happy Hour, where you can go and meet the coaches. I believe you can meet Ben McCollum on Friday, and then you can meet Allison Pullman on Saturday before the men's game, which is really cool. And Brian Harden, the athletic director for the Drake Bulldogs, did a great job of just like selling this no knock on Iowa State and Iowa, but you can't just hang out with Kirk Ferentz. You can't just hang out with Jan Jensen. They're great people. Matt Campbell was always great. TJ Otzelberger, Bill Finley. He texted me after I was laid off at Iowa or iHeart, and those are some really special people they have there too. It's just the opportunities aren't the same. When you hire a brand new head coach, fans can't just meet them right away. At Drake, you have that opportunity. I think that's why as a kid, I gravitated towards Drake because I could actually meet the people I was watching. I could hang out with the players afterwards. I think it's so cool what the Drake women do after games of having, the players walk around in the stadium, signing autographs, shaking hands. After a really tough loss to Belmont earlier this year at home, you have a lot of players with frustrations, but they still go out there and they make sure to sign autographs for young kids. They make sure to actually thank the fans for coming. And I think that's such a unique and cool experience at the Knapp Center. So if you haven't gone out to a Drake women's game, make sure you do. And this is a great weekend for it. And just, watch some great basketball. And also, like I've said 1,000 times, these are just easy players to root for too. But welcome everyone to the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller. Catch us every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 2:00 on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, highlights on all of our social media pages, TikTok as well. A lot to get to today. We had 5 Missouri Valley Conference games, Des Moines Hometown Team weekend, and also the Waste Management Open starts today. I know for sure as soon as I'm done recording this and have to start editing it for YouTube, I know I'm going to put up on our projector we have here at my apartment. We are going to put up the Waste Management Open and have that on the big screen all day long. This is the time of the year where I start to really get the itch to go golfing. RA was talking with my buddies of trying to plan another golf trip. Last year, my buddy Grady was getting married, so his bachelor party, we went and did a golf trip, and it was a blast. Had so much fun, drank and ate way too much, but want to do that again in a heartbeat. And also some really cool things just coming up this summer. Really excited for, and watching golf always puts me in the mood. And then I always get out of the mood, like last night, where you see an ice storm roll in, or you look at the calendar and realize it's only the first week of February. So we'll have the Waste Management Open as well. But let's jump into it. The Des Moines Hometown Team weekend is kicking off this week, where you have the Drake men playing on Saturday at 5 against Indiana State. The Drake women play against Illinois State, which will be a great game tomorrow at 6:00 at the Knapp Center. And then they play again on Sunday against Bradley. So it's a great opportunity. If you haven't watched one of these teams or both of them, go out there and watch this team. Now, Sunday, I know a lot of people have Super Bowl plans, me included. I'm not out of there either. So try to go Friday, 6:00. It's a great game against Illinois State, a bitter rival. Illinois State won the better teams in the Missouri Valley Conference right now in the top 5. Drake in the top 5 as well. Beat them earlier, so you have Illinois State coming in trying to get revenge. There's so many storylines. Easy team to cheer for. And it's women's basketball, which is at an all-time high. And also, if you're worried about, it's 6 o'clock, kids, blah, blah, blah. 1, it's a Friday night. 2, women's basketball, I think, moves faster than men's because you have less stoppages. So go out there and support the women on Friday. And then Saturday, this men's team is really starting to get into a groove and needs a push, heading into March. And this team really, really thrives off of a loud nap center like we saw against UNI. And Ben McCollum talks about that too in his opening thoughts about just the fans and what they've been able to do and how he thrives off the fans, how he also tries to get them pumped up. But you just have a really cool thing. And yesterday, both Ben McCollum and Allison Pullman took to the stage and just talked about, mid-season, or not mid-season, but mid of the Missouri Valley Conference part of their season. They're in the middle of that. So kind of a review how their teams have improved, what they want to see them still continue to improve on. And just a way to try to get fans to come out. But up first was Allison Pullman and the women's basketball team. Here is the opening thoughts from Allison Pullman, head coach of the Drake Bulldog women's team.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, thanks again, everybody, for being here. Would love to talk about Drake women's basketball and just how exciting it is. We are halfway through conference play, but we are not a finished product. So the great thing is, our team is continuing to evolve, continuing to get better. And, from takeaways, major takeaways from the UNI game was, honestly, how phenomenal we did defensively. So if we're able to couple our defensive efforts that we were able to put together on Saturday, really kind of tap into what we do offensively and be able to put those things together, I think you're going to see, a really, really nice, hot team come the middle of February and into March. So just excited about that. And then one of our favorite weekends coming up, being able to celebrate Des Moines Hometown Team. Got a great listing of number of events that are going to be going on. Really appreciate our efforts as far as, from our marketing department to be able to put on really what I feel like is one of the hottest tickets over the weekend. You've got our women's team that plays Friday night at 6 o'clock. You've got our men's team that plays on Saturday. And then we're going to go ahead and put an exclamation point on the end of it where the women wrap up the weekend on Sunday. So looking forward to having a lot of people out. We got to get this nap center rocking. And I think you'll really enjoy the products on the floor.
And the women's basketball team, they improve from losing 3 straight to now winning 2 straight. In those 3 games, this offense only averaged 64 points per game. Now, you have to realize who they're playing. Belmont, Murray State, 2 of the toughest teams out there in 2 of those 3 games. Missouri State was tied for second at the time Drake was playing them, and Drake nearly beat them on the road. But in these last 2 games, you're seeing an offense really start to find a rhythm and get back to their true identity of just fast play, and they're going to really put some pressure on opposing defenses with how fast, how many players are able to run in transition, the ball movement, the shooting forms. And in these last 2 games Drake has won, they've averaged now 81 points per game. That's a huge jump. And so with the seniority, the guidance by Pullman, Drake is back on track and ahead of their huge match against Illinois State. Here's Coach Pullman on just getting through that losing streak and really not getting down on themselves, but truly using it as a learning moment.
And I think one of the things is just embracing exactly where you are in that given moment. And so taking what major lessons and takeaways from, when you aren't your best, when you're able to lean into some of the things that, we aren't a finished product and it's the end of January. So I think our team fully understanding, their maturity level and then also our experience level and leaning into those different things to fully understand that, we're going to be playing our best basketball in March. And so continuing to develop our team chemistry, continuing to, lean into some things that we need to get better at. I think this is like I said, a very mature group who's very open to continuing to learn.
And a huge factor for why Drake has been able to put up 81 points per game, why they are starting to really click, is because in those 3 games, it was truly a two-player system with you needed Katie to go off and you needed Anna Miller to go off. And this is a team that we've talked about, when they played against UNI. My biggest compliment was I think Drake wins because the athleticism, I think, has a higher ceiling from their role players than UNI's. And that's what we're seeing. And a huge role player that transferred in from Illinois State, who will be playing her foe this Friday, is Abby Alsma. The transfer from Illinois State in the last 2 games combined for 33 points, and she continues to help take some of that weight off of the shoulders of Anna Miller and Katie Dennebeard. Those two are still going to be the focal point and the leaders of this offense, which is totally understandable and fine, but you just need those role players to step up. And they're using Alsma to really take some of that weight off of Anna Miller and Katie Dennebeard. Against UNI, she hit 2 threes to start the game. She was the kind of the spark plug to this team. So Abby Alsma, great player. Seems like she's really fitting in with this Drake system, and she talked about, why she chose Drake. But first, hear from Abby Alsma just on what she's been able to improve on from the start of the year to right now and what she looks forward to in the future. Transfer from Illinois State at guard, Abby Alsma here at the Des Moines Hometown Team weekend press conference. Here's her thoughts.
Personal level, just coming out of my shell a little bit more. It takes a while, I feel like, once you're in a new place surrounded by new people. But once I realized that I can trust these girls and I can trust these coaches, I'm slowly opening up, and it's been really fun just to build friendships and relationships like that. And then basketball sides of things, I'd say just gaining confidence in myself. She's really encouraging, all the coaches are, all the players are, so building that confidence and just playing hard and just trusting what we do here.
Coach, where have you seen her grow from the start of the year to now?
Yeah, great question. So I think, Abby's ability to shoot the ball is something we all absolutely love, and everybody's standing up and doing one of these the moment, it comes out of her hands. But I think where Abby's not just a shooter, I think the thing that Abby's been able to add to her game is she's able to get to the rim, she's able to get run out layups, she's able to pass the ball in the half court, and I've seen her make huge strides defensively, whether that's guarding the other team's best player or being able to understand what we're doing in a zone matchup offense or defense, but just all of those different things. So it's been step by step, and you can watch all of the women on our team. You continue to watch their confidence grow as they continue to understand, learn, and have success. So it's been so much fun to watch.
And you hear Abby Alsma, and she talked about how, the system with Pullman just fit, and the culture was way different than Illinois State. I don't know much about what happened, why she transferred, but she talked about how she didn't like the person, and these are quotes from Abby Alsma. She didn't like the person she was becoming, and she loves how at Drake you have players that bring each other up instead of pushing them down. And that's, great compliment to what Pullman has been able to build. At the same time, you sit there as someone who doesn't know much about Illinois State as what is going on, but clearly they have a system that works, and some players just don't fit into it. And Abby Alsma right now, I think a lot of people in Des Moines really happy that she's sticking around in Des Moines. And she told Allison Pullman when she was getting ready to transfer that if she was going to stay in the Missouri Valley, there was only one team that she was going to go to, and that was Drake. So really cool to see that connection between Pullman and Abby Alsma yesterday. But the Drake women first game of the weekend at 5 o'clock on Friday against Illinois State. Then Sunday at 3 against Bradley. Make sure to try to go out to both of those games. If not both, try to get out to at least one. Then you had Ben McCollum coming up to the stage as well with Nate Ferguson, one of the few players to stick around after Darren DeVries left. And it's interesting because this is a Des Moines Hometown Team weekend press conference. And you have Ben McCollum, not from Des Moines, first year. Nate Ferguson, not from Des Moines, but he's grown to love Des Moines, and he talked about how after he graduates, he plans to stay in Des Moines, which is really cool to see someone set up roots like that. But just a really interesting dynamic of you see Ben McCollum slowly figuring out Des Moines and how cool Des Moines can really be. And you have a Drake Bulldogs team that is really starting to click too. Both teams went through kind of lulls in January, ups and downs. But to kick off February, they look like they're about to make some noise heading into March. And the Bulldogs, for the men, won 9 straight now. They lead the Missouri Valley, and after a tough loss to Murray State, they've just really turned around their offensive game. And here's Ben McCollum before we dive too much into the Drake men's side of things. Here's Ben McCollum, his opening thoughts about Des Moines Hometown Team weekend, and also talk about how I'm going to have you listen to Ben McCollum, and then I'm going to talk about how he answers questions and how he may be my favorite coach from Drake that I've interviewed. So here's Drake Bulldogs men coach Ben McCollum on Drake Hometown Team weekend.
Good. Yeah, first off, thanks for coming. Appreciate you guys coming by, and appreciate the coverage as well. I think that this is how you get to be the Moines Hometown Team, is obviously through the media, and all the positive coverage that you guys have given us is doesn't go unnoticed. So any access that you need, just let us know, and we'll keep giving you that. Second part of that, I guess, just going through last week, obviously 2 big wins on the road. You spent 4 or 5 days on the road together. Can either go poorly or go really poorly or really, really well. And fortunately, ours went really well. Makes the trip a lot better when you're away from your family. I think for our kids, they're away from our players. They're away from school, essentially, so sometimes I don't think it bothers them quite as much. But came out both games. I thought we performed with a high level of urgency. I thought that we competed against 2 very physical teams, which is really nice. From an external standpoint, probably those 2 games would be trap games because they are tricky matchups for us, just because of the level of physicality and athleticism with both those teams. Headed into this week, we've got Indiana State on Saturday, and then obviously they call it Hoopy Hour, I believe. I think from a fan's perspective, it's the Des Moines Hometown Team game. I think we're continuing to try to generate some of that enthusiasm and excitement to really create some type of border around Des Moines and get fans out here and help them understand what kind of environment we can create within just the community. So we're going to keep continuing to have outreaches, continuing to be out in the public, continuing to have our players immerse themselves amongst even the fans after the game, which is somewhat unique to Division I teams. Where we're actually involved with the people and with the crowds itself. Whereas if you go to some of the Power 4s, Power 5s, whatever you call them now, sometimes you don't get that deep interaction that you can have with our guys. So we're going to continue that, and hopefully we can fill the gym again, and hopefully we get them cheering and create that kind of environment that we've created up to this point.
I love the way he answers questions. I mean, he sometimes, all coaches have coach speak, but for the most part, he's got a little snarkiness to him, and he's truthful. I mean, he doesn't hold really much back. He reminds me a lot of a Bill Fenley, where they can make fun of themselves. They can have fun with the players, and both coaches on the court, very intense. they look at times like they could be hard to play for, but then you see the way they interact with the players, and they truly care for one another, and they truly believe in one another, and they truly believe in the process of improving. And it's really cool to watch. And as a fan of the Drake Bulldogs for so long, I think I've been waiting for a coach like Ben McCollum, who is never satisfied, who always wants more wins. And Darren DeVries was like that. But I think you just have Ben McCollum, who really, I think, implements what the fans kind of feel. I mean, he has that energy in him, like you see when he's coaching, of being able to rally the crowd together. And I think that's why I love the way he answers questions so much. And also, it's always funny whenever you can tell, a player did something awesome, but maybe it wasn't in the playbook. You have him kind of rubbing his head at, like, I can't get mad because he made the shot. I'm more thinking of like the Cam Mania where he dribbled behind his back, and you have Ben McCollum sitting there like, yeah, usually he throws that off the bleachers, but I guess today he was able to control it. Like, quotes like that are going to be what, stick with fans, of you're not getting the robotic, just give 100% maximum effort kind of answers. You're getting true answers. And then for someone who's brand new to the community, it makes it easier for people to kind of get to know you and start to really follow this team. So just wanted to give a kudos to Ben McCollum, and just the answers he gives, I think, are great. He's one of my favorite coaches to interview. But to go into more of a serious topic, with all that has happened this season, this is a win. This is a win of a season for the Drake Bulldogs. Think of where it started. You had Darren DeVries leaving for West Virginia, which don't blame him. Got a great opportunity. Go take it. And he takes Tucker, one of the best players on the Drake team. He was the best player on the team. And then you just see the chain reaction. Connor Enright goes to DePaul. You have Attenwright going to North Texas. You have all these players leaving. Players going to Texas Tech. Players going all over the place. And you're left with Andrew Aaliyah, who didn't get much playing time under the DeVries era, and then Nate Ferguson, who kind of just would step in off the bench as a role player for Darnell Brody, but again, wasn't a huge minutes guy. And there's no stubbing of their toes. There's no taking steps back. He brings in his own guys. You get a head coach from a Division II school. You get all of his players from basically that Division II school. And there's no step backs whatsoever. What Ben McCollum does is just simply win. And he's brought that culture to Drake. And in a year where, people thought Drake could win 20 games. But I don't think a lot of people thought they would win 20 games in 22 total games. And so there was just a culture of winning that just continued. And you don't see that in mid-majors with a huge coaching change and a huge roster transition like Drake had. I mean, look at Indiana State. They're going through it. They're kind of in that bottom tier of the Missouri Valley. But I think this quote from Coach McCollum not only is another reason why I love his answers, but just shows why Drake never took a step back, why he just brought a winning culture and a winning mindset into the Knapp Center and into Des Moines, and why Drake is now sitting on top of the Missouri Valley.
I expected to hit it sooner. We had 22 games in, right? I don't know. As my old coach, I always say this story. It was the funniest thing. My old coach at Northwest, we were doing goals one day, and everybody was supposed to come with 2 or 3 goals for that season. And ironically, one of my current assistants, Jesse Shaw, I won't name names, but one of his goals was to be like, I think we played 28 games at that level, and he's like, well, I really want to be 24-4. And my head coach, Steve Tapmeyer at the time, he goes, well, what 4 games do you plan on losing? And so it's kind of that deal of, yeah, I mean, from an external standpoint, man, it'd be great to be 5-2. I always cringe when I hear coaches say that. Oh, it'd be great to win 5 of these next 7. Okay, well, which ones are you going to lose? And so for us, your objective is to just get as good as you can possibly get, and your objective is to try to win every single game. Doesn't mean you're going to. So my expectation was to just get better, and the results should take care of themselves. So I guess that first part of the question, I don't know.
Yes, it's a win of a season for the Drake Bulldogs, no matter what happens, I think, moving forward. But now we've seen how good this team can be and their potential. So, of course, expectations have risen higher. Of now, you're expecting Coach McCollum to bring home a regular season championship for the first time since 2008 and trying to win the Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Championship for a 3rd straight season. So, yes, the expectations are getting higher, but I don't think Ben McCollum would have it any other way. Ben McCollum just simply wins. And that's the culture he's brought into Drake. He's continued to bring on from his time at Northwest Missouri State. He just simply wins. So Drake men, they take on Indiana State Saturday at 5 o'clock. Big game. Indiana State slowly starting to figure some things out with their offense and starting to get more balance, not just going through Samaj Teal. And we'll break down that game tomorrow as well with the women's games. But let's get into the Missouri Valley Conference last night. 5 games last night in the Missouri Valley Conference. I love that there was 5 games. It also makes for a hectic, 5 hours from 6, or no, probably more like 4 hours. From like 6 to 10 o'clock, you're just constantly, I'm on my phone checking the scores. I'm watching UNI Missouri State, which is a closer game than I thought it would be. And then you're checking out, oh my God, now SIU is dominating. Oh, what's happening here with Indiana State? It was just chaos. And then it all ends with the game of the night with Belmont and Bradley, which was insane. But let's go through the games and some quick thoughts. But you have UNI, a 66-61 victory on the road against Missouri State. UNI got great help from Hudson and Campbell, 20 points each, because Titan Anderson, Missouri State just locked him down. 0 for 4 from the field, had 2 points in the 20-point loss. Last time he did that was against North Texas, and that was Drake transfer Atten Wright, who was on that North Texas team, still on that North Texas team, if you forgot about that. But yeah, Anderson hasn't done that since early in the season, and very rare we see him with only 2 points. Finished on the night 3 points, 0 of 4, and UNI escapes Missouri State, which is a tough place to play. Drake struggled too, but that's because I kind of feel for Missouri State. I know they're leaving the Valley. I know Valley diehards will be like, good, glad they're in last place. And there is a part of me like that too. But with a team that has such great starters and they just don't have really a bench, only 8 bench points last night, you do kind of feel for them because they may be one of the best one-win conference teams. I mean, the potential of that team, if you just get filled a few more holes, would be so strong. They're defensively sound. They gave Bradley a run for their money too. 4 or 5 starters with 11 points, highlighted by Osei Benunso, who is a mismatch for every team. Our buddy in Josh Betts, who appreciate him tuning in, and we were talking all throughout those games. Big guy, big Missouri Valley guy. We were talking about how he's a mismatch for every team, and he is outside of maybe Bradley. And then I said in Illinois State, because Chase Walker, who had a dominant performance last night as well against UIC, could maybe keep up with him. But other than that, Benonsu is unbelievable. And 13 points last night for him. But UNI survived 66-61. And then in the biggest blowout of the day, you had Indiana State dominating Valpo. Sycamore's starting lineup starting to find a groove. They've won now 3 straight. No Indiana would have a good night when they don't force everything through Samaj Teal. 17 points from Teal, but Camp Wagner, 22 for him. Aaron Gray, 13 for him. You're starting to get that balance that they're desperately looking for. In this Indiana State Valpo game is kind of how I thought the first meeting would go in Valpo. I thought Indiana State was just the more athletic team and had potential offensively, but that was the game where Valpo won, and it really sent Indiana State into a spiral of that losing streak. And then they show off for the home fans, though, 80-62, huge win as they get ready to face the first place Bulldogs on Saturday on the road. Then you had SIU taking down Evansville 68-59. SIU may have shot only 37% from the field, but it doesn't matter. Why go for 2 when you can hit 15 3-pointers last night? SIU, a team that was stuck near the bottom for most part of the season with Missouri State, has now really started to build their way up, and a team that looks scary come March for Drake to play, for any team in the Valley to play. But 15 3-pointers, a team now that has won 6 of their last 8 and have won them in pretty convincing fashions. And last night on the road against Evansville, a team that has been pretty good at home, 68-59. You had an offensive explosion game, not a lot of defense between Illinois State and UIC. Illinois State led 45-37 at halftime, nearly blowing that lead as UIC put up 42 in the second, but just not enough for UIC to get it done. Walker, like we said, a mismatch for most teams, definitely with UIC. I shouldn't say definitely, because UIC has some strong big men that can stretch the floor, but just defensively, I don't think they're on the same level as like a Bradley team that has some bigs that they can utilize, and Benonsu with Missouri State. But Chase Walker, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 10 of 14. Team hitting 11 3-pointers for Illinois State helps too, because when you're having a big man like Walker put up 31, the defense can't crash down on him, because then you're leaving up open guards and forwards to nail down 11 3-pointers last night. UIC, 4 of 5 starters in double figures. And Illinois State has won now 4 straight. UIC has lost now 3 straight. And if games like these, if days like these don't get you excited for St. Louis, like, check your pulse. I don't know how, and I know not everyone watches the Missouri Valley, but last night there was multiple games on that just show why Arch Madness is one of the best conference tournaments, and I love how they're the first conference tournament too. And that Belmont-Bradley game, 8 o'clock tip. I'm kind of tired of 8 o'clock tips, but you know what? If games are going to be like that, I'm happy with them, because it is unbelievable. The intensity, the energy, the speed at that game was playing all game long was incredible. You had Belmont taking down Bradley on the road, 80-77. That now puts Drake 2 games ahead of Bradley in first place. But just teams that went punch for punch. It was a heavyweight battle. 15 3-pointers for Belmont, and an offensive, one of the best offensive teams in the Valley. 5 players with 10-plus points. You had Lundblade with 25 points. And we saw a very rare thing against a Belmont team. When Belmont's on fire, it's really hard for teams to keep up with them and shoot with them. And that's what Bradley did. 14 3-pointers last night for Bradley. And they had a big man that could stretch the floor off the bench, and Atlason, who put up 25 points as well. But UIC, just in the final seconds, able to draw up a great play where they got an and one layup with only 2 seconds remaining, converted the free throw, puts them up by 3, and Bradley, just not a great set design in the final seconds. Bradley has now lost their third straight. Belmont breaks out of their 2-game losing streak. And like I said, if this doesn't get you hyped for St. Louis in March, then you must enjoy watching like nothing. I don't even know an example. You must really enjoy watching paint dry or something, because this is just incredible basketball. Best time of the year. Drake may have won 9 straight and maybe 2 games ahead in first place, but every team is beatable. No one is invincible in this conference right now, and that's how, as just a fan of Valley basketball, that's how you want it to be. So, Drake Hometown Team weekend recap settled. We also have the 5 Missouri Valley Conference games set as well. Saturday, every Missouri Valley Conference game team plays on Saturday. Drake men tip off at 5 o'clock against Indiana State. The women tomorrow night play against Illinois State. Make sure to follow along on social media for those games and our thoughts and recaps, coaches' interviews, players' interviews. And for tomorrow's show, we'll make sure to preview the women's game against Illinois State, preview the men as well, and then give our Super Bowl predictions. Maybe talk about some of our favorite Super Bowl moments as well. But thank you so much for hopping on the Media Row podcast with me, Justin Miller. Follow us, like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff on all of our social media pages. Listen to us every day at 2 o'clock. We'll see you tomorrow at 2 as we get ready for Super Bowl weekend.